In order to work seamlessly in After Effects, you need to learn how to navigate. And by navigation, I mean things like zooming in and out and panning around the document. For navigation, you'll be using a combination of the mouse and some shortcuts on the keyboard. So let's have a look at how it's done. Just to make things easier, I'm going to go and maximize my composition panel, and this is done in one of two ways. You either move your mouse anywhere on the composition panel, you don't actually have to click, as long as you move your mouse here, that's enough. And on the keyboard, you press the tilde key, that's the key between Shift and Z on the keyboard, and if I just press that key, you'll see that the screen will be maximized, and if I press it again, it'll be minimized. Alternatively, you can come up here to the name of the panel, and just go and double click on the name of the panel, and that will also maximize this. If I just go and double click here, that's exactly the same as pressing the tilde key on the keyboard. And that's true for pretty much every single panel. So if I go and double click on the name here to minimize it, and let's say for example I would like to maximize my timeline, I just come here and then double click here, and then that maximizes my timeline. Similarly, I can press the tilde key here, and then move my cursor back here, and tilde key again, that maximizes that. Now, one of the ways of zooming in and out is by using the zoom tool here. So zoom tool, Z on the keyboard, will allow you to zoom in and out from the composition. So if I select this tool and then come here, let's say for example, I want to see what's happening down here where the text is, I can simply just go and click on the text and that will zoom in incrementally to my text. Every time I click, that's zooming in. And if I want to zoom out, I hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and you see inside my cursor, currently I have a plus. If I press Alt, it's going to turn into a minus. With that, if I just go click, that's going to zoom out, and again, and again. Another way to use this tool is to do what's called the marquee zoom. For example, if I want to zoom in to a specific area rather than a point, I can just go and draw a rectangle around that area, let's say like that, and as soon as I let go, that's going to zoom in to the whole area that I marqueed. If I zoom back out again, so if I press Alt, and then click a few times, that will zoom out. I can marquee zoom, let's say, onto the airplane, like that, and that zooms in exactly there. At any point, if you want to zoom all the way back out so you can see the entire composition again, on the keyboard, you press Shift and /. So as soon as I press Shift /, that zooms all the way out and it fits the entire image onto the available area on my screen. That's how the zoom tool works, but there are easier ways. Let me show you how they work. Let me quickly switch back to my selection tool here. It's V on the keyboard, I can just go and click here as well. And regardless of the tool you have selected, on the keyboard, if you press Command or Control on Windows, then plus. So if I just go Command plus, that zooms in, and Command minus will zoom out. Again, if I press Shift /, that's going to zoom in to show me the entire composition. One other way of zooming in and out is if you're using a 3-button mouse and you have a scroll wheel on the mouse, you can actually zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. So if I just go push in and out using my scroll wheel, you can see I'm zooming in and out. And you'll see this is happening right towards the center of the scene. So regardless of my mouse's position, it zooms in to the center of the composition. Let me zoom out again, so Shift /. If I use Command plus, again, that zooms into the center, Command minus zooms out, and if I use my scroll wheel, that also zooms in and out regardless of the position of the cursor. So if I move my cursor here to the sun and then zoom in, you'll see that still zooms in to the center. Now there's one really useful trick that I'll show you here, and that is if on the keyboard you press the Alt key before you use the scroll wheel on the mouse, your cursor is going to be used as the anchor of the zoom. So what that means is this. Let's say for example I want to zoom into this camera. So if I move my cursor here onto the camera, maybe I can place it right in the dead center of the lens here, and I hold the Alt key down, then use the scroll wheel and it will zoom in to my cursor. Rather than zooming into the center of the composition, it zooms into my cursor. If I zoom out again, Shift /, let's say I want to zoom into this car here, I can come up here and hold down Alt and scroll onto the car, and you'll see that's exactly where it's zooming into. Now let's say you've zoomed in already and you then want to see different parts of the composition. It's again really easy. You can hold down spacebar. It's not a tap, so you're not tapping the spacebar, but you're holding it down, and then you can pan around. This is called panning around the scene or the composition, and that's with the spacebar held down. And that there is the hand tool. As soon as you press spacebar and hold it down, you actually are activating the hand tool. So we have already talked about the zoom tool, and this one here is the hand tool. So spacebar is the shortcut for it. I'll zoom out one more time, Shift /. If you want to set the zoom level to something quite specific, you can come right down to the bottom of the panel here, and it shows you your zoom level here. So if I go click, I can pick one of these zoom levels. If I want to see the scene at say 50%, I'll just go and click here, and that's exactly half the size of the original composition. Again, I'm going to press Shift// one more time. One other button in the composition panel that's quite important is this one here, where it says full right now. If I go and click on this, this shows me the resolution of what I'm looking at now. So if this is set to full, I'm seeing this at 100% resolution. In other words, every single pixel is being calculated. If I set this to, let's say, half, you'll see the quality degrades a little bit. And similarly, as I go lower here, if I go to a third, it looks even worse. And if I go to a quarter, it looks terrible. And the idea here is to lower the quality down so it doesn't take too long to process, so it can concentrate more on the important things like the animations and the keyframes. But at any point, if you want to switch the quality back, all you do is to come down here and then click and pick your resolution here. There are two buttons we haven't talked about. One is custom, and custom basically lets you go below a quarter of the resolution. So if I select custom, I can then tell this to render, let's say, every 10 pixels horizontally, and then maybe every 10 pixels vertically as well. So this is going to look much worse, but again, when it comes to previewing things, the speed is going to be closer to real time. The other option here is auto, and auto is going to change your resolution based on your zoom level. For example, if I set this to auto, right now, because we are seeing this at a magnification level of more than 100%, the resolution is set to full. If I set this, let's say, to 50%, it's going to drop the resolution to half automatically. If I set this to 25%, that's going to a quarter. So the auto button sets the resolution based on your zoom level. There are some shortcuts you might want to remember. Let me go back to my 100% view. On the keyboard, if you press Command J, that sets the resolution to be full. And if you do Command Shift J, that's half resolution. And Command Shift Alt J, that's quarter resolution. These are the shortcuts you might want to remember when it comes to changing the resolution of the composition without having to click on the button at the bottom.